star and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
Suge Knight in there waiting on him. You know, as soon as he get it, like, you tired of your celly dancing all up in your cell.
Suge Knight has sent a chilling message to Diddy amidst all his current troubles, and the internet is loving every bit of it. The CEO of Death Row Records has apparently preempted Diddy's future as his purported message carries a deeper meaning. What message did Suge Knight send Diddy? And how is Diddy taking it? Suge Knight and Diddy have a long-standing beef that goes way back to the 90s, the dawn of the East Coast-West Coast rivalry. This feud has allegedly cost a few lives, notable among them being Tupac and Biggie Smalls. Though the rivalry has slowed down over the years since the turn of the 21st century, it hasn't died down, as the main characters involved in the beef are still alive and active. The infamous rivalry between Bad Boy Records and Death Row Records has inspired a couple of movies and TV shows, and has been material for many comedians. Several jokes have been made at the expense of this rivalry, and surprisingly, the comedians are still alive to tell the tale. This is because some people have passed away by merely associating themselves with either of the rivals. One person that easily comes to mind is Big Jake Robles, who was shot due to his friendship with Suge Knight, which we'll come to later in the video. Anyways, comedians have kept using the East Coast-West Coast rivalry in their sets, even daring to pick on the main actors in the fight, P. Diddy and Suge Knight. One such comedian is Eddie Griffin, who recently picked on the embattled CEO of Bad Boy Records during his comedy show. Diddy is currently in a spot that we can only describe as not too happy. So many saw Griffin's attempt as daring, given the alleged hot temper of Diddy. Griffin, who was late to hit the stage, apologized for his tardiness and hilariously blamed Diddy for it. While I was backstage waiting on the to begin, I was searching the internet and I seen some shit and I said, Diddy, did he? Diddy, I know he did it. He did it. Take that, take that, take that. For those of you who are lost, Eddie Griffin was referencing Diddy's recent troubles, which began when his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, sued him for SA&R while they were in a relationship. Initially, the Bad Boy CEO denied the claims, but made a swift move for an out-of-court settlement believed to be in the millions. Cassie's boldness and bravery gave 3 other women the impetus to come forward and sue the music mogul for almost the same thing. Diddy has denied the other women's accusations, claiming that they were just looking for a quick way of making some cash. Now, Diddy's suit has got the internet divided, with his fans defending his innocence while his critics shout about his guilt. So, Eddie's joke was in reference to Diddy's SA&R allegations, and he saying he did it implies that he thinks Diddy could be guilty of the accusations. However, Griffin didn't end there. The punchline was yet to come. He went on to imagine how Diddy's longtime rival, Suge Knight, would welcome him to prison. This man's on his way to jail, y'all, he continued. And Suge Knight in there waiting on him. As soon as he get in there, Suge'll be like, you tired of your celly dancing all up in your cell? Come on over to Death Row. This wasn't the first time that Eddie Griffin was roasting Diddy for all the allegations the women brought up against him. Last December, 50 Cent uploaded a snippet of Griffin's joke on his social media page, captioning it as Eddie Griffin LMAO, doing his thing. Boom. In the clip, Griffin joked, that guy on his way to jail, Suge Knight been waiting on him. Griffin joked, you getting tired of your celly dancing in your videos, all up in cell block C dancing and come on over to Death Row, baby. Diddy. He did it. To add insult to injury, 50 uploaded a picture of Diddy alongside the disgraced convict, Harvey Weinstein, who is serving time for committing similar crimes to Diddy. Interestingly, Griffin's joke stemmed from a comment that Suge Knight passed when Diddy's alleged crimes against women first hit the internet. On his Collect Call podcast, Suge Knight made a joke about sharing the same cell with the embattled CEO of Bad Boy Entertainment. Puffy, I don't want to see you go down, he began, but if you need a celly, I'ma grant you my cell, boy. Have your cook game working. I don't want no head, but you gonna be cleaning toilets. Now, though this is a joke, many fans don't see it that way because of the history between the two. The two label heads have had a history of verbal and sometimes physical altercations that have resulted in the demise of other people. Thus, some fans believe that Suge's words shouldn't be taken at face value. However, it is difficult to see Knight and Diddy spending time together as Knight is incarcerated in San Diego, where he is serving 28 years for voluntary manslaughter. Diddy, if found guilty, might not be transferred there, as Harvey Weinstein, who committed similar offenses to what Diddy is being accused of, is languishing in New York. R. Kelly, another infamous S offender, is in North Carolina after previously being held in Chicago. So Diddy joining Suge in the same prison is 1 out of a million. That is, if only he's found guilty. But some fans say never. According to the fans, the two music moguls might just end up in the same cell, which would be very interesting. Given Suge's huge frame, many people are tipping the balance in favor of the Death Row Records CEO, but other fans warn never to underestimate the strength of Diddy. Interestingly, the two CEOs had gotten physical before in 1995, and it was Suge who carried the day based on the narrations of the altercation. According to the rapper Mark Curry, he once witnessed an altercation between Diddy and Suge Knight at the birthday party of Jermaine Dupri. Sadly, that was the night that Suge's friend and bodyguard Big Jake Robles was shot and eliminated. Narrating the incident, he said that he was at the club with Diddy and his bodyguard Wolf when Suge Knight walked in and dealt some hefty slaps to Dupri. Dupri then took to his heels, leaving Diddy and his bodyguard to face the big Suge Knight. Suge then made for Diddy's bodyguard Wolf and threw him out of the way. He then held Diddy by the neck and lifted him up off the floor. Diddy started protesting vehemently. The raucous caused by the Suge and Diddy fight drew the attention of the owner, who called the two CEOs to a different room where they could have a go at each other. The two men were then ushered into a room and the door bolted. After a few minutes and some loud rumblings, the door was opened, and Diddy and Suge were seen hugging each other. The two men, in the company of Big Jake, then got out of the club and headed towards Suge's limo. Then they heard a gunshot. According to Mark Curry, the shooter was just emptying his cartridge into the air, but out of nowhere, another man came, pointed a gun at Big Jake, and released about 7 rounds into him. However, Jermaine Dupri had a different narration of the night's incident. According to him, Jake was eliminated under the instructions of Diddy. He explained that after Diddy and Suge had their confrontation, the CEO of Bad Boy Records instructed his bodyguard Wolf to eliminate Jake, who was bodyguarding Suge. Curiously, Diddy's former business partner, Kirk Burroughs, corroborated Dupri's version of the story, claiming that the music mogul also eliminated Tupac Shakur. According to Burroughs, who claimed that Diddy cheated him out of a $25 million deal, Robles' passing was pre-planned under the auspices of Diddy. And when the deed was finally done, Diddy gave his approval. Though every story has two sides, this story has more. Gene Deal, the former bodyguard of Diddy and a close friend of Wolf, also gave another interesting version. According to Deal, Jermaine Dupri and Burroughs lied against Diddy because they were not at the scene when everything went down. Deal himself wasn't at the scene either, but he explained that he heard about it from Wolf. Explaining what happened on the night, he said, "Jermaine Dupri is a liar and the truth ain't in him," Deal began. "He ain't see a damn thing. That night at that party, he was in the effing upstairs with Dallas Austin because Suge had slapped the S out of him too." He said that it wasn't Diddy who ordered the hit on Jake, but it was a man named Jason after Jake and Suge insulted his girlfriend. Jake was talking to Jason's girl Nicole, Deal said. "She from the West Coast. I got pictures with her and her crew in 112 because they used to always hang with Wolf and them." Jake then made an expletive-filled comment that both Jason and the lady got offended. Jason is from the Valley, so now Suge Knight and your man Jake said to Nicole, "Oh, you sucking them East Coast guys D's?" And they talking crazy to her. Jason said something to her. Buju Banton told the dude Jake, "Me no watch no television. I'm not no fan of yours." Remember, this was around the time that tension was brewing between the East Coast and West Coast rappers, the dawn of the now infamous rivalry. Jason was from the East Coast, and Jake, alongside Suge, was from the West. The insult to Jason's girlfriend angered him, and he decided to take the law into his own hands. Unfortunately for Jake and Suge, Jason had a side piece on him and decided to teach the men a lesson never to mess with other people's girlfriends. Narrating the incident, Gene said that Jason hatched a plan and waited until Jake and Suge exited the club to execute it. He explained that it was Jason who ended Jake and not Wolf, and blamed Jermaine Dupri for lying on Wolf. Jason waited until the Jake came outside and shot him. Jermaine Dupri was nowhere around, bruh. Mark Curry even said that Jermaine Dupri was upstairs in the club with Dallas Austin. There's no way he could have saw it. They lied on Wolf all these years. Sadly, nobody was charged for the demise of Jake, and it appears the said Jason was never brought to book. Many sources credit the shooting of Big Jake as the main catalyst for the escalation of the East Coast-West Coast feud. Gene Deal wasn't there when the incident at the nightclub occurred, so he couldn't have spoken about the fight between Suge and Diddy. However, Mark Curry was at the scene and saw whatever happened between the two men, and according to him, Suge won on the night. So, if fate ever designed for Diddy and Suge to cross paths in jail, then Suge was likely to take the day. Suge is currently serving 28 years in jail for intentionally running two men over with his car. Suge had always been involved in violence, given his involvement with various gang sets in Compton, California. He had been in and out of prison several times for different crimes, all associated with the passing of one person or the other. So it wasn't surprising to anyone that Suge was involved in another incident that resulted in the demise of his friend Terry Carter and CLE Sloan. It isn't clear what started the incident, as various sources report different stories, but Suge was seen following the two men to a Burger King stand in Compton. The men were coming from the set of the biographical epic movie Straight Outta Compton when they engaged in an argument with Suge Knight. Never the one to forgive anyone who offended him or crossed his path, Suge followed the two men to the Burger King stand and hit them with his car. He was later arrested after evidence from security footage from the famous restaurant made its way into the hands of law enforcement authorities. After a lengthy court process, where Suge claimed he ended the men in self-defense, he entered into a plea bargain that got him nearly 30 years in prison. As we mentioned earlier in the video, Knight has been in and out of prison many times. His first stint was in 1996 after he broke a 5-year probation for probation and attacked Orlando Anderson, who was a member of Southside Compton Crips. He was sentenced to 9 years but was granted early release in 2001. 2 years later, Suge ended up in jail again, this time for breaking his parole and hitting a parking lot attendant after a heated misunderstanding. He was sentenced to 10 years, which he served in full before returning to his normal life. But never the one to stay out of trouble for too long. Suge got involved in another altercation outside a club in Hollywood. The squabble left him unconscious for 3 minutes when the police got to the scene. However, Suge decided against telling the police what the squabble was about and why he ended up in the state in which they found him. In 2005, Knight was the victim of a shooting incident at a party hosted by Kanye West. As common with gang violence in the rap game, the genesis and the cause of the shooting are unclear. However, from all indications, the shooter's goal was to finish the CEO of Death Row Records. The star-studded party, organized by Kanye West, was in honor of the year's MTV Video Awards ceremony in Miami. Knight was rushed to the hospital after the incident, where his lawyer claims he spent about $200,000 on treatment. A few years later, Suge sued Kanye West and the owners of the club for not providing adequate security and for allowing an unidentified man to enter the club with a loaded firearm. The suit, which was filed in Miami, sought $1 million in compensation for the damages Suge suffered on the night of the incident. Talking about the incident to the press, Suge's lawyer explained, "He's an icon in the music industry. He walks in a room and he lights it up. He had an expectation of security there. How someone came with a gun into a very VIP party that just doesn't meet the smell test in life." The two celebrities finally reached an out-of-court settlement for an undisclosed amount. In 2012, the founder of Death Row Records was arrested for driving under the influence, various traffic offenses, and illegal possession of cannabis. Knight was once again the victim of another shooting at another pre-video music awards party hosted by Chris Brown at a strip club known as 10AK. The incident, which occurred in West Hollywood, saw Suge Knight being shot 6 times, but still managed to make his way to an ambulance for help. He was rushed to the hospital, where he required several surgeries to save his life. 3 days after the shooting, Knight was released from the hospital and spent several days at home recuperating. At this time, word got out on the street that Knight had 9 lives since he refused to go down, regardless of the number of times he faced the Grim Reaper. His reputation went ahead of him, and many of his peers and upcoming gangsters feared to mention his name. However, Knight couldn't just stay out of trouble. It was as if he had an insatiable appetite for the limelight and always wanted to make the headlines, albeit for the wrong reasons. A few months after the shooting episode at the strip club, Knight was on the wrong side of the law again with Cat Williams. The two men were charged with robbery after apparently stealing a camera from a paparazzi photographer in September. The female photographer was filming the two men when they got angry and seized her equipment. However, the trial was delayed as Knight was in another court for running over 2 men at a Burger King restaurant, which we spoke about earlier in the video. When the trial restarted in 2017, Cat Williams pled no contest and got a 3-year probation and 54-week anger management classes. It was after this incident that Suge got a 28-year jail term for voluntary manslaughter. Diddy has also been in jail before, but not as long and as frequent as his nemesis, Suge Knight. One incident that readily comes to mind was when he allegedly hit someone with a kettlebell at a gym where his son trains. However, like Knight, Diddy has been embroiled in several murder charges over the decades, beginning with the demise of one of the best gangster rappers of all time, Tupac Shakur. Diddy has always maintained his innocence in all charges brought up up against him and has managed to stay out of prison as much as he can. Now, many sources are starting to believe that the rapper and music mogul may not escape jail time this time around, as more SA&R charges are being brought up against him. According to word on the street, Diddy had mistreated far too many women, and if they all came out to expose him, he might suffer a fate worse than Harvey Weinstein or R. Kelly. The sources claim that Diddy foresaw the lawsuits coming and sent out NDAs to the women involved to never disparage him or his company in public. One such woman is Aubrey, the former Diddy protege and member of the girl band Danity Kane. In an interview on YouTube, the model revealed that she was made to sign an NDA that prevented her from revealing certain things about the rapper and his company. Now, NDAs are a great way to keep trade secrets and protect a company's interests, given the level of competition out there, but to use it as a means of silencing victims of mistreatment at the hands of the rich and powerful. And that is what O'Day appeared to suggest. Though the model didn't categorically state it, word on the street suggests that she was preparing to produce a documentary that detailed the inner workings of Diddy and Bad Boy Entertainment. Now, for context, let me give you a brief rundown of why O'Day might want to produce a documentary about Diddy and why the project might not paint the business mogul in a good light. Aubrey O'Day was part of the reality TV show Making the Band, which oversaw the formation of her girl group Danity Kane. During the show, Diddy picked on O'Day several times, much to her annoyance. According to the 35-year-old model, Diddy did a few things to her back in the day that he wouldn't get away with if he repeated it now. She alleged that the music mogul had little compassion for women and always pushed them to the limit. Speaking with Variety magazine, the model said, "Diddy's a father, so hopefully he's learned things about the way that you handle women and has more compassion for women now." She continued, "Puff is a very difficult person to work with," and she recounted an incident that made her feel bad. "I remember times where he looked at my toenails and was like, 'What is your third toenail doing? Go get that sheet fixed before you walk into a room.'" The singer even alleged that sweating on the show could earn you a hot reprimand from the business mogul. She narrated one time when Diddy walked in, saw her sweating, and passed a chauvinistic comment. "We would be in rehearsals performing an hour-and-a-half set over and over, and he would walk in for 5 minutes with a camera and say, 'Aubrey, why are you sweating? You look like a wet dog. You're the hot one, so do you think anyone wants to see that?'" She claimed it was scary to work with Diddy because you never knew what would put you into trouble with him. "We were scared to death with what would happen with Puff each day. There was just no room for error. Diddy was one of the most intense people you could ever work with. I experienced everything from race, remarks, to sexism, and a lot of it was scary." Aubrey was finally fired from the reality TV series by Diddy for being what he termed as too promiscuous. However, as it turned out, he was more promiscuous as more and more women were pouring out to expose him. It seems Cassie Ventura has opened up the door for many women who have suffered mistreatment at the hands of Diddy to speak up and expose him. Rumors have it that some members of the girl group Total are preparing to file lawsuits against the founder of Bad Boy Entertainment. Now, the exact nature of the alleged lawsuit is unclear, but many sources say that Diddy used the girls as his muscle to intimidate other ladies who offended him. A case in point is when Wendy Williams alleged that Diddy sent the girls after her when she accused him of being gay. At the time, Wendy had stated on the radio that she had a picture of Diddy standing in front of a man with the said man pulling down his shorts of the music mogul. According to Gene Deal, Wendy's expose of Diddy cost her job at the radio station. He narrated that Diddy pulled several strings to get her fired from the station. This was after Diddy allegedly sent the girls to teach Wendy a lesson at the station, but they were unsuccessful. She claimed that the girls came downstairs and were waiting for her to come down. All the employees and staff of the station were looking at the scene to see what would unfold next. However, her then boyfriend intervened and prevented what would have been a messy scene. However, some conspiracy theorists believe that the girls didn't go there willingly, but were forced to do so. According to them, given the revelations of Cassie Ventura when she filed against Diddy, it is highly possible that the music moguls may have pressured the girls into doing his bidding. They surmise that he might have threatened them with contract termination or something more powerful to get the girls to go to the radio station. Thus, now that the girls are free from his clutches, they are willing to come out and testify against him. Now, these are all rumors, but you may never know what the future holds. Diddy had long been suspected of mistreating his female employees, but all were treated as just mere rumors until Cassie decided to speak up. So, while we treat these as mere speculations, we won't be surprised if any of these girls come up with a lawsuit against the business mogul. And if Diddy is ever found guilty of any of the crimes associated with him, then he has a friend who is ready to welcome him. Suge Knight has stated his readiness to dance with Diddy in his cell if, and only if, they end up in the same prison, same block, and same cell. This brings us to the end of today's video. Thanks for watching.